Peace and love, everyone. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, please like and subscribe. And I want to welcome everyone and give you all greetings on this wonderful Moon's Day. And it is already September, which is like so shocking to me that it's like we're 9 months into this year, but it's all good. And the next season and cycle that's coming around the corner very soon, um the fall season, and we're looking forward to that because we know that there's beauty and great wisdom in all of the seasons, and we welcome them and just look forward to the lessons and the excitement that it brings in our lives. So yeah, so there it is. So today we're on the 9-9, and tonight we're going to be talking about ancestral honor and communion. And this is a two-part series. Tonight's the first one that I'll be doing, and Wednesday night will be part two, and we'll have a supreme guest joining us to speak about this topic and to take us further and deeper into it. And so the reason why um, I chose this topic to talk about, someone brought it up to my attention and asked me about it, and we had a discussion. So I was like, this would be perfect, great idea for an upcoming show here on Astral Healing Arts. So tonight we're going to talk about ancestral honor and communion and what that means. And the ancestors, those that came before us, are very important excuse me, aspects of our lives, because not only do we honor and give respect to the people that are physically present in our lives, the ancestors are a part of us and a part of our family as well. Very integral, very important part of our family. So you have your immediate family, you have your extended family, you have, different generations, children, grandchildren, great grands, and then you have the ancestors who are just as much a part of the family. They're just no longer in the physical body, in the physical realm, but they're still very much to be honored and celebrated. That is why many people have photographs and photo albums to capture those memories and to keep record, photographic record of those people and their families that have passed on. And we put their pictures up, we put things up to honor them and to remember them. And that's one of the most important things when it comes to honoring an ancestor is the memory, honoring their memory, remembering what they taught you, remembering the moments shared with them, the knowledge, the wisdom, sitting at their feet, learning from them. And all of that is very important. And those are things that we should honor and reverence and just keep in mind when it comes to showing honor and gratitude as well to our ancestors, because it really is important. Um, so many people think that ancestors, what is going on with the computer? Sorry, y'all. Um, you know, to some people, ancestry or talking about their ancestors is a strange concept. And I get that, but they're very important. This is why you have websites where people are searching for their ancestry and to discover or find out, missing pieces or who they are or what their identity is. And because a lot of us have lost the connection to our ancestors, and some of us don't even know their names, where they came from, that kind of lead will create a void in your life, and a lot of unanswered questions. And especially when it comes to your heritage, your genetic ancestry, all of that is important. And many people are spending their time and resources to discover these things because a lot of it has been lost to them. And for many different reasons, people have been displaced for centuries. There's been forced movement and migration, wars, slavery, many number of things. Sometimes people have to move because of natural disasters or political issues. Things that might not be safe in a certain country, or there's things going on, upheaval. They might be, maybe they're a persecuted group and they have to move around a lot. And families get separated. All families are not functional, and sometimes there's different issues that come up and families become separated, and all of these things can contribute to a sense of loss of identity and sense of heritage, that many people are searching for answers now and researching and looking up their genealogy and studying it. And so that is one aspect of our ancestry and why that's important. And so many people feel that the ancestors and their ancestors not important, and they don't include them in their daily lives. But just because people are no longer physically present and in the physical body doesn't mean that they don't matter, or they're not present in spirit. So we're going to be talking about all of that tonight. Are the ancestors still present amongst us? How do we honor them? Should we include them in our everyday lives? And how is their presence felt in our lives? When I was growing up, there wasn't a whole lot of talk about ancestors and the environment that I grew up in. And yes, people had pictures of family members and, hanging up, or, in their homes. My grandmother kept names of people and their births and their deaths and marriages in her Bible. And a lot of other people did things like that. And I wasn't taught in the environment that I grew up in about the importance of ancestors, and there wasn't a lot of ancestral reverence other than mentioning people, maybe, like on holidays or something like that, or seeing the photographs and pictures of them. And that when I grew up and I started, exploring different cultures or meeting people from different cultures and different backgrounds and walks of life other than the one that I had been accustomed to, I began to see that ancestor reverence and communion was very much a part of other people's lives. People had, I would see people having altars in their homes, honoring their ancestors, leaving plates of food or things out for them, calling their names, calling on them, asking for help and guidance. All of these things are just different examples of how we can reverence and show respect for our ancestors. So many indigenous cultures hold a reverence and place of esteem for their ancestors. They talk about them and include them as if they're physically present. They make shrines and monuments for them. They decorate things for them. Like I mentioned, offering plates of food and drinks for their ancestors, invoking their presence in important affairs in the form of libation. Sometimes you may go to certain ceremonies and they'll open up with libation and call the ancestors to join, and give their guidance and their support. And those are just some of the ways that people show respect and reverence for ancestors. Another way that people can do that is just honoring the traditions and customs of their ancestors. And, I know a lot of people from different backgrounds, but particularly the Native American community, and, some of the beloved ones who were separated from their families And the older generations, many of them were forced to go to boarding schools and separated from members of the larger group. Some families were separated for generations, and they weren't allowed to speak their native tongue or practice their spiritual beliefs or their cultural beliefs. And they were told that they were evil, wicked, devil worship, etc., etc. And they when they reconnected with their families, if they did, there was a sense of loss or misunderstandings over the realm of spiritual matters and how the ancestors were important. And so those who desire to rekindle and revive their traditions and reclaim them, if you will, a lot of them practice and the things that their ancestors did. They did the research, they talked to elders who still had the memories, and a lot of them have committed themselves to restoring and reviving and reclaiming their traditions of their ancestors that were suppressed or in many instances they were forced not to honor those practices and those traditions. And so the other day I was watching with my my grandbaby. I was watching um, it's a cartoon that a friend of mine told me about. It's called Molly of Denali. And there was a episode called Grandpa's Drum, which I thought was really nice. And in that episode, I'm not gonna tell you all of it because I want you to see it. But there's an episode where the little girl, who's the main character, Molly, finds a picture of her grandfather when he was a younger child, and he's playing a drum and with another native child in the picture. And she asked him about that. How come, I've never seen you play a drum, I never heard you sing. And he told her, I don't sing anymore because I gave my drum away. And he didn't want to talk about, didn't want to talk about the subject or the topic at all. So Molly wanted to surprise him, so she went on a journey, and she look for some clues in the picture, and she decided to go on a journey and find the little girl in the picture that with her grandfather. And she found the woman who's her grandfather's age now, and she gave Molly the drum. And she told Molly the story, that the reason why the grandfather, gave his drum away is because they were sent away to a boarding school, and they were not allowed to sing songs in their native tongue, and they weren't allowed to honor their traditions. They had to do everything in English and in a new culture that was foreign to them. And they were made to feel bad about their own culture, their own language, and their own traditions. So when her grandfather was faced with these obstacles, he said, I won't sing again if I can't sing in my own language. So he gave the drum away to the other little girl. And you had to watch the cartoon to see what happened. But it was an important message about how many of us were forced, for one reason or another, to give up our ancestry and our ancestral wisdom, if you will, and our ancestral cultural practices. Many of us in the modern world don't know these things, and we have to, rediscover them through studying, through talking to elders. And, some of us don't have elders in our family that can inspire us with that information or provide us with that information. So we have to find out from others. It's so many different possibilities. But the point that I was trying to make is that many of us don't have the guidance from our ancestors and don't know the traditions and the cultural practices. So it's a little bit harder for some of us to um, honor them in that way. But the effort that goes into discovering them and wanting to know these things and wanting to practice them is is rewarded. And that is also another way that you can honor your ancestors. So, honoring them by calling their names, including them in your affairs, and also honoring their traditions and their practices. All of those are great ways to honor them. Another way is naming something after them, like naming a center or naming something in their honor, dedicating something to them. That's another way that you can honor your ancestors. So there's some confusion, and many people think that honoring the ancestors is a form of worship. I disagree. I don't think it's a form of worship. I think we commune with our ancestors and honor their contributions, and their presence is not worshiping them. It's just giving them the respect that they deserve and giving them the honor that they deserve in our lives. So many cultures do this. The dominant culture names things after people. There's statues wherever you go. Around the United States, you'll see statues of former heroic figures and presidents and people like that. You see monuments named after them and in their honor. You see roads, highways, schools, bridges named after people who are ancestors. Now, all of those are forms of um, honoring and reverencing the ancestors and their contribution, naming things in their honor, not just, you know, putting a picture of someone up, but naming things after them. Another way that you can honor your ancestors is by leaving flowers out for them, um, planting flowers for them. If you knew that your great grandmother liked marigolds or something, and you want to decorate your home or plant them outside your home, or just keep those around, maybe around her picture on your altar or something like that. That's another way that you can show honor and respect to them. um, in November, there's a big holiday coming up called Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. And I know that in this area, you will, because there's a large Latino presence where I live, you'll see some I don't want to say parades, but you'll see events honoring that day coming up in November. And, that's a long tradition that goes back in some Spanish speaking countries, where they actually have a day that they honor the ancestors. And, they make beautiful altars, and they do other things in honor of them, make special foods for those days. Um, all of those are examples of how you can honor your ancestor, mentioning their names, praying for them, even the ones that you may not know their names, offering prayers for them. And just there's many people throughout history that have passed away, and no one prayed for them. They may have died a tragic death, or just passed away, and they may have been just buried unceremoniously, very simply, and there was no ceremony and nothing done to honor them and to keep their memory alive. So, praying for them, praying for those who've gone on and who may not have ever had anyone pray for them. That's something else that you can do to honor your ancestors and give them that respect. Um, let's see. Those are also just some examples of ways you can include them in your everyday life. Pouring libation. You don't have to do that libation daily unless you want to. Some people do. Um, just offering something for them, keeping their memory alive, honoring their traditions. teaching your children and your grandchildren and future generations about their ancestors. That's another wonderful thing that you can do when it comes to communing and honoring them, is tell the new generation about the older generations. Show them pictures, talk about the fun things you did together, the things that they said or did that honored you, and the things that mattered. That's other examples that you can do. And all over the world, regardless of where you are from, our ancestors have rich traditions and cultural practices um and spiritual wisdom too, to share with us. And so it's really important that we learn these things and share them with the future generations. And we have someone in the chat, Dia. Hey, how are you? Peace and love. Thank you for joining. And with that, that we're going to close tonight kind of early. It's going to be a short lecture tonight, but I hope this was helpful in providing you some information and some insight on how to honor and commune with your ancestors, and just some suggestions from me. If you have any questions, please reach out to me in the email. Please stay tuned for Wednesday night, same time, 9 p.m. We're also going to have a guest for part 2 of this discussion, and we're going to talk a little bit deeper about the subject. And with that said, I want you to remember, always go easy on yourself. You are clearing thousands of years of outdated conditioning as we come together and we learn to heal and just change the paradigm shift that's taking, help facilitate the paradigm shift that's taking place on our planet right now. With that said, love, peace, and prosperity. Much love and success to each and every one of you. Look forward to Wednesday night. Peace and love.